Lesson 34, Part 1 is Dividing Fractions. Go ahead and put the title into your notes and push play when you're ready to begin. Now, in the previous lesson, I mentioned to you that the multiplying and division of fractions is very, very similar because fractions technically are division problems, and then you're multiplying them together. So when I get to the point where I show you the steps of how to do it, it's going to look very, very familiar. However, I want you to understand when you use it and what it's, how it's broken down first before I start handing you the steps to how to do it. So let's look at the first problem. It'll be a we do first. Okay, so go ahead and copy this down as best you can. We have 8/10 divided by 2. And you want to put a bar here. Pretend that's a chocolate bar. Yummy. Chocolate bar that has 10 equal pieces. Try to make those as equal as possible, so do this as neatly as you can. Draw that into your notes. Push play when you're ready. Okay. And if we start with 8/10, so we got our candy bar, and your little brother or little sister must have gotten into that candy bar because there's only 8/10 of it left. So out of the 10 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, out of the 10 pieces, only 8 is left. So somebody got into that candy bar before you got to it and ate some of it. So 8/10 is left. And we're dividing by 2, which means that we want to share that 8/10 of that candy bar with our best friend, because our best friend is our favorite person, so we're going to share the 8/10 of that candy bar. So how much of a full candy bar will each of us get? So really what we're doing is going ahead and dividing this section by 2. So we would have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces there. Half of the 8 is 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 here would be half of what's left. And that is 4 out of the, how many of the original pieces? 4 out of 10. There were 10 original pieces. If you reduce that down, 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. That means that the 2 of us are getting 2/5 of a full candy bar. Now again, as I mentioned, multiplication division of fractions is very closely related. So now that I've shown you what this problem is trying to show you, we're taking the 8/10 of the candy bar that's left, we're splitting it, dividing it between 2 people. How much do each of us get? We get 2/5. Now let me show you the steps and you'll see just how closely it relates to multiplication. Okay, and you're going to need to copy this along as I go, so you'll be pushing pause and play as you go. So step 1, change everything to a fraction. Well, we have 8/10, that's already a fraction. Divided by 2, we're changing that to a fraction. We can make a whole number a fraction by putting a 1 under it. So that's going to change to 8/10 divided by 2 over 1. Make sure you get that copied down just like that. Okay, and so the second step that you're going to do is you're going to do the reciprocal. Reciprocal just means the flipped version of the second fraction, the upside down version of the second fraction. So for example, let's look at reciprocal over here, just so you can see what it is. The reciprocal of 1/2 is just flip him on his head, and you're going to get 2 over 1. That's a 1. The reciprocal of 3/5, flip him on his head, 5/3. The reciprocal of 2/5, flip him on his head, 5/2. And the reason we're doing that is because really we've got, it's almost like when we use double negatives in language arts, the opposite of the opposite. Well, this is division and this is division, so we've got a double division here. So what we're going to do is we're going to reciprocal him and unopposite him of division, and then we can unopposite this guy of division and make him multiplication. So we flip it around so that we could do the math easily. Reciprocal him, so instead he'll be 1/2 this is the reciprocal of him. Leave the first guy alone. He's still 8/10. And we change this division because we changed this division over. We can change this division over to multiply. So now it's multiply. All right, and once you've done that little bit of magic, now we're just using the same skill we did in the previous lessons. So we have the steps of cross reduce, because here we are back at multiplication, and we already did that lesson. So cross reduce, okay, cross reduce. A number that goes into both 10 and 1, no, nothing. How about 8 and 2? Sure, 2 goes into both of those. So 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. And then we're on multiply straight across. That's multiply, I just shortened it. Multiply straight across. 4 times 1 is 4. And 10 times 1 is 10. And then our final step, convert if we need to. No, that's a proper snowman. It's a proper fraction. He's not upside down on his head. But reduce, sure, I can do that because 2 goes into 4 evenly and 2 also goes into 10 evenly. So I'm going to divide 2 into both of them. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. And notice that gave us this same answer that the chocolate bar example did. So these would be the steps, change to a fraction, just the same as the last lesson, right? That's the same thing. This one's different, reciprocal of the second fraction. We're doing some magic to turn it into a multiply problem so that we can use the steps we already know how to do. This is what's happening. This is how we can find it easily. Okay, so now let's look at another example, both in what's happening form, and then we'll go through the steps on it too. So this is a we do again, so make sure you're copying this down as well. We have 4/5 divided by 1/2. This would be like saying I have 4/5 of a cup of orange juice, and I'm going to pour them into 1/2 cup containers. How many 1/2 cup containers can I fill up? So we have 4/5, and I want you to go ahead on the side and draw another. We'll call this a pitcher of orange juice. Okay, so, and put it into 10 equal pieces. And if we've got 4/5, what we really have is 1, 2, 3, 4/5. This is 4/5. If I split that into 5 equal pieces, 4/5 is right here. And what this is asking is, out of that, how many half cups? So if this is 1 full cup, how many half cups can I fill? Well, half of a full cup would be 5 out of the 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could fill 1 up, 1 for sure, 1 all the way. There's 1 half cup. And then I could fill up not quite another one. This is out of the 5 pieces that are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can only fill 1, 2, 3 of them. So I can fill up 1 whole one and 3/5 of another one with the 4/5 of a cup of orange juice that I have. Now that's what it looks like in what's going on form. Now let's take it and test it out through the steps here. Change them both to a fraction. That's a fraction. That's a fraction. Let's deal with the steps of multiplication we know how to do, because you've got divide and you've got divide, and it's like a double negative with a double divide. So let's turn things on their head. We'll reciprocal flip the second fraction. So 1/2 is going to become 2/1. And since we flipped him on his head, we'll flip this over on his head too and make it a multiply. If you aren't familiar with this little dot meaning multiply, that's the same symbol as that. You're going to want to start getting used to the fact that that means the same thing. So the dot means multiply. Okay, so now that step's done. Easy step. It's the second fraction always though, because it's divide. We're flipping these two on their heads. Now cross reduce like we did before. A number that goes into both 1 and 4? No, nothing. How about 2 and 5? No, nothing. Okay, multiply straight across. 4 times 2 is 8. And 5 times 1 is 5. And our final step, convert if you need to. Yes, this is an improper fraction. This snowman is upside down. So we do bottom into top. Remainder is the numerator. So we divide 5 into 8, which goes in once. It leaves us with 3 left over out of 5 that we had there. So your answer ends up being 1 and 3/5. So doing these steps led us down to the answer of how many half cups will we fill up? We'll fill up 1 and about 3/5 of another one if we only have 4/5 of cups of orange juice. Okay, and this is our final we do number 3. Go ahead and write down 2½ divided by 1/2. And what this question is asking us is if I had 2½, let's say pizzas, and go ahead and draw these, I have 1 pizza, 2 pizzas, and a half a pizza. So this other half is gone. So 1, 2, and a half pizzas. This is 2½ pizzas. If I divide that into how many half pieces I'll get, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half pieces. So your answer should be 5. How many halves can you get from 2½? So let's go ahead and now take it through the steps. Step 1, change everything to a fraction. This is a mixed number. How do I change them to a fraction? Multiply, add, bring it to the side. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And we don't do anything to this guy because he's already a fraction. Now step 2. We're going to reciprocal that second fraction because it's divide by divide. Flip him on his head, flip him on his head, and we can do our multiply steps because they're so closely related. So 5/2 stays the same. I'm going to flip 1/2 on his head so that I can change this guy to multiply, and then just use the steps that I'm familiar with. Cross reduce. No, nothing there, but how about here? Sure, 2 goes into both of those. So 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once. Now, multiply straight across. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. And now we're on the convert reduce. Convert, yes, this is an improper fraction. It's upside down on his head. So we divide bottom into top. Remainder is the numerator. Well, 1 goes into 5 exactly 5 times without anything left over. So you just put down that it's 5. Hopefully that's starting to make some sense to you. These steps will guide you right through, but I didn't want to give you the steps without you understanding what was going on. So that's why we wanted to have those pictures in our notes as well. Okay, and so now I want you to try. Go ahead and figure out what 2 1/4 divided by 1/2 is. Pause the video. Go ahead and go as far as you can to get to an answer. Hopefully you make it to an answer. And then press play so you can check it. All right, and let's see how we did. And you probably went ahead, because this is probably something that's making you more comfortable, because you were already familiar with most of these steps. You probably went ahead and just did this with the steps. But again, I still want you to see what's going on. So what I've done is I put, let's go ahead and call them candy bars. I have a candy bar that's 2 full candy bars, and 1/4 of another candy bar here. This represents 2 1/4 of a candy bar. And we're wondering how many half candy bar pieces we can make out of 2 1/4. How many half candy bar pieces? So I could make, there's half a candy bar there, so that's 1, then another half here, 2, then 3, then 4, and then here's half a candy bar, but out of this half a candy bar, I only have half of that. So I should be able to only make 4.5 half candy bars. So the answer you probably got was 4 1/2. Now I'll take you through the steps the way you probably did it so you can check how your steps went. And if you didn't get 4 1/2, maybe as we go through you'll see where your mistake was made. I've got to change everything to a fraction. Multiply, add, bring it to the side. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. That's already, 1/2 is already a fraction, so I leave it like that. It's division. I want to make it multiplication, so I do that by flipping everything on its head, or at least the second fraction. So I go ahead and I take 9/4, leave it alone. Change it to multiply by flipping the second fraction on its head, the reciprocal. Now that they're that way, it's multiply, so I use my multiply steps, cross reduce. 9 and 1, no, nothing goes into both of them. 2 and 4, yeah, 2 will go into both of those. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. Multiply straight across. 9 times 1 is 9. And 2 times 1 is 2. Final step, convert if you need to. I do. This is an upside down snowman, although if you counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fourths of a piece, or 9 halves of a piece. So anyway, 9 halves. We're going to go ahead and convert it bottom into top. Remainder is the numerator. So 2 fits into 9. 2 times 4 is 8. That's as close as I can get without spilling over. And 9 subtract 8 is 1. My remainder is 1. Denominator stays the same. My answer ends up being 4 1/2. So hopefully that's the answer you got on that one. Let's try one more. Okay, the next one, you do number 2. This is the last one. We're going to do 7/8 divided by 1/2. Go ahead and pause the video and go as far through it as you can. Hopefully you'll come up with an answer. Push play when you have an answer. All right then, and so hopefully you have an answer, and you made it through to an answer on this one, and it's starting to make some sense. Again, you probably just went through the steps because you're probably most comfortable with those, but again, I do want you to see what's going on. So we have a candy bar that is split into 8 pieces. It would take all 8 of them to have a whole candy bar, but one of the 8 pieces is gone because we only have 7 out of 8 here. So this here is 7/8. 7 out of 8 pieces available to us. And we want to know, out of those 7/8, how many half pieces we can make from the 7/8. So how many halves of a whole candy bar? Well, the whole candy bar here is 8. Half of 8 is 4. So there's our first half. So we can make 1 full half. But then out of the second half that we'd be trying to make, we only can get 1, 2, 3 out of the 4 that would be left. There's 4 left, right? But only 3 of those 4, 1, 2, 3, are available. Remember, that piece got eaten up by somebody, probably that little brother again. So there's only 3 available for the rest of it. So you could make 1 3/4 halves out of the 7/8. This is the answer you should have gotten. Well, now let's do it through the steps, the way you probably did it. Change everything to a fraction. That's a fraction and that's a fraction already, so I can move on to the next step. It's divide, so I'm going to make it multiply. If it's already multiplied, don't be flipping things around. In this case, though, it is divide, and we want to make it multiply. So flip things on their head. Flip this guy over his reciprocal. So we get 2 over 1. This guy stays the same. Cross reduce. Nothing goes into both 7 and 1, but 2 goes into both 2 and 8 evenly. So 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. Now multiply straight across. 7 times 1 is 7. And 4 times 1 is 4. Next step, convert if you need to. Yes, this is an improper fraction. It's an upside down snowman. Big number is on top of little number. So we divide bottom into top. Remainder is the numerator. 4 into 7. Well, 4 times 2 is 8. That's already too high. So it's only going to go in one time. With a remainder of 3. Remainder is the numerator. The denominator stays what it was. It was a 4. And you get the answer 1 3/4. If this makes sense to you and you feel like you're ready to tackle those closure questions, go ahead and come get your closure questions to show me you get it. If it's still a little hazy, rewind and listen to the explanations a couple more times if you need to, and then see how you're feeling. If that still doesn't help, come see me. We'll practice a few more. I know it's kind of a tough concept to wrap your head around, but with practice, it gets easier and easier. So do what you need to do to make sure it all clicks together.